I am Sigi Moonlight in drag. I'm Jackie Bardelang out of drag. My pronouns are any, really. She, he, or they, depending on whether I'm in a drag space or I'm outside a drag space. And I'm an actor, a voice actor, and a drag performer. Basically means eschewing boundaries, and namely those of gender expression. I think for some people it can be really liberating. For me specifically, I think it's more about just playing around with gender. It might be, I think nowadays you might get some bad press in the media about non-binary being this new trendy sort of way of people separating themselves from male and female, whereas for me I think it's about blending that and celebrating the fact that you can be in touch with both your masculine and feminine sides. You can wear, style and behave in a way that suits exactly who you are. I feel most liberated being in a circle of people, maybe that's friends or my community, or up on stage in a space and an environment that completely understands exactly who I am. They don't feel the need to question my identity, how I present, even what gender or sex I am, or what, heaven forbid, what genitals I have, because that seems to be one of the biggest things on people's minds when they see genderqueer people. And people that can celebrate that with me, for being exactly who I am and know that is how I want to be and present, and find me attractive and sexy and powerful, exactly who I am. I have lots of different looks. I am a character performer, but I would say my statement look is definitely the sexy stubbled host. I have this character that might be a bit like game show host meets slightly roguish Yakuza, Asian Yakuza member. Yes, he's always got lots of strong, dashing stubble, anywhere between a 5 o'clock shadow to a full-on glamorized Hollywood film star kind of beard. And it's as if he could feel straight out of a 90s, 60s advert for men's cologne. You never really know what's behind his suave glance at the camera. And the best thing about it is that this is me. This is a queer Asian version of exactly that, which is something that, advertising has always been all about white, cisgender men looking sexy. Obviously women as well, but in this sort of terms of presenting masculinity. And for me, my statement look is all about redefining the meaning and spectrum of what it is to be sexy. I first developed my contouring methods on masculizing my face from a drag king workshop that was hosted by my drag dad, Adam All. He's got a very kind of geek chic look, quite heavy contouring to sort of give that a lot more of an angular look. There's looks all over, but that's where I started. And what I do, generally speaking, is I kind of add a little bit more shading to the forehead region so that it allows, just to the temples rather, so that it allows for a pronounced forehead. I draw a sort of a darker contour line underneath my jawline, or just underneath my jawbone, so that it allows the kind of jaw to really bounce and strike. And then I've recently applied a little bit of blusher to the cheeks and the nose, just to have that a bit more of a theatrical and coloured, strong, powerful, sort of fierce look. I do a bit of shading around the nose. I use a lighter colour straight down the tip of the nose in order to make that aspect bounce a bit more. Eyeliner and eyeshadow, that's something that you can usually go a bit crazy with, because I think bigger the better for your eyes to make them look really striking. But that's my overall contouring regime. It's quite simple, but it's effective. the concept that makeup has a gender is to me is just obviously a really outdated term. It's a funny concept, gender itself. I think it's something that applies to, it's a very human thing. You don't talk about feminine or womanly mice or manly mice quite in the same way that you talk about humans having this completely different spectrum of genders. I guess in the traditional sense, makeup is associated with femininity. It's aimed at women so that they can dress up and look beautiful, appeal to the male gaze or how society should see women. I think it's still important to realize there is, you know, a large majority of people who still think that way, and especially the high-end sort of beauty industry still potentially sees makeup as gendered in that way. I said earlier, adverts still belong to a cisgender sort of standard beauty of women and men. But luckily that's changing, and in my opinion, makeup doesn't and should not have a gender, and people should wear makeup as and when they feel to make them feel confident in themselves. Being someone who wants to explore different characters, it allows me to completely transform myself, and not only my face, but how I feel and how I act. I like to see it as this mask where I can perform above and beyond my usual, normal, boring self. Or maybe boring isn't the best term, maybe just complicated self. And bringing a really strong look, bringing characters to life. People like my Charles Bronson face, which is this rather scary kind of villainous clown makeup, or my old Asian man. I have Captain Birdseye, or of course my sexy host character. There's all this variety that I can sort of adapt and change according to my makeup look. Yes, I would say that using makeup relates quite heavily to my gender identity and expression. I myself feel very masculine and feminine at different times in the day, with different people, in different spaces and environments, and how I behave and how confident I feel. And therefore my makeup also reflects this combination of masc and femme energies. The strong eyeliner, the touch of eyeshadow combined with these sort of strong angular contouring, and the occasional fake stubble or moustache. It's this wonderful blend of both energies. So my stubble is really simple. I take a stipple sponge, I think that's what it's called, and I have my characteristic snazaroo black face paint I take with me everywhere. Just get a bit of that on there, and the key is to just start light and very gently dab around. And if you're doing it for the first time, I highly recommend finding a kind of stubbled male look that you find interesting and going with that, so that you have an idea of exactly where the shading is. You know, if it's closer to the cheekbones, if it's closer to the chin, how heavy you want your moustache to look, and just sort of building up those layers. There's all kinds of other techniques. So sometimes if I want a slightly heavier beard, I would take some of my head hair and I'd chop it up into very fine little pieces and apply it to my face with like theatre glue or spirit gum some people use, and that allows for a bit more of a heavier bearded look. That's also something that you don't necessarily need to worry about if your face gets smudged or if you touch your face accidentally. And I also use real hair if I want a proper full-on moustache. And of course there are wig makers who, or I don't know, they call them beard makers out there, who also supply professionally made hair, moustaches and beards that look really good. So there's a whole variety. Gender euphoria is such a great term and something I've never heard of. You don't think of it as the opposite of gender dysphoria, but now that I think about it, I realize I've had it so many different times in my life. I think it means feeling completely comfortable with who you are and how you dress, look. I grew up thinking I was not attractive to anyone until I was about 20, 21, because I didn't feel that anyone could understand or feel attracted to someone who was so strangely gendered non-conforming as me. But the one time when I felt this euphoria was when I dragged up in a school play as a Russian professor with a beard for the first time, and I was 17 years old. I had a 3-piece suit with makeup and everything, and for the first time in my life I actually felt, wow, this is really empowering and euphoric and incredible. Combine that with being on stage and having, everyone love you and clap for you and think that you are this part, really made me feel completely at home with myself. Explore and go out of your comfort zone. You might think that you only feel comfortable in one style. You might think it's just superficial, that the idea of styling yourself or dressing yourself up with makeup is so important. But the more that you explore, the more you understand how you should style yourself and what makes you feel powerful and confident, the more that you will feel at home with yourself. Again, those really key words. Dare to be different. Don't conform just to make others happy. Don't ever think just because it's labelled for someone completely different to you that it's not for you. Everything is for you. It's just about how you make it.